let's start. And it's such a privilege for me to introduce our first speaker. He's I would say, my discovery of 2020. I was introduced to his work from a colleague of mine. Hello, Michael. And then I got like you have no idea how much engaged I got. First off, I got his first book. I was recommended The Coaching Habit. This is a beauty. You need to get this one. And once you're done, well, actually, you should buy them at the same time. The second one is The Advice Trap. And then when I was talking to Michael, he mentioned a program he was leading. It's called The Year of Living Brilliantly. And he explained a little bit that to me. And then I was like, I'm not sure, like a weekly video and then start to chat on I'm not sure that's me. But I got to tell you, I'm at week 19 and I cannot wait for the next video that is coming every week. So this is fantastic. Just a little bit about Michael, other than being a great author, also the founder of Box of Crayons. Like we're gonna put the information in the chat box for you guys later on to visit his website. He's got great resource. He's Australian, so maybe you're gonna find his accent a little bit funny, like we do here in Canada. He lived in London, also lived in the US. To me, like, it's such a privilege. In baseball we say like we need a good leadoff to start things off. Well, I think Michael is the perfect leadoff. This is how I made my pitch to Michael. I said, you're gonna be our leadoff. And here we go. So Michael, I don't want to take too much more of your time. Let's get going.
Andre, thank you. And thank you to Frank and Wayne. It's a wonderful start. I love the welcome to country as well. That's a tradition in Canada. It's a tradition in Australia as well, where I'm originally from. So I'm excited and privileged to be kicking us off here. Look, these sessions are going to be really interactive. So if you're already kind of just getting back into your seat and settling in, I want you to get your chat box out, because I want us to make this practical for you, not just a talk fest. So here's how I'm going to start. I've got a question for you. I need you to put a number between 1 and 7 in the chat box. And it's not just for my session, it's for this whole TIMEOUT 2020 experience. And the question I've got for you is this: how focused do you plan to be with me? How focused do you plan to be for this conference? Because here's the thing, webinars and virtual conferences are great, but they're rife with distraction. So just to give you a sense, like a 1 is, quite frankly, I've got my phone open, I've got my other phone open, I've got music playing, there's some chaos happening in the corner over there. Look, I'm just here for some background noise while I carry on with my life. That's a 1, pretty much unfocused. 7 is I'm bringing full focus to this. I've signed up, I'm giving it my weekend. I want to squeeze the value from these amazing speakers. I've got all I can to bring full attention to the screen and to the speakers. And let's see some numbers showing up in the thing. We've got 7s, we've got 6s, we've got an 8 from somebody. So that's awesome. I'm not hiring you to do my accounts, but I love that you're so enthusiastic. 8 out of 7, that's great. And I will tell you, as a coach and a facilitator, one of the things that I do when I start any session is I ask the participants for their intention. In a webinar, it's often how focused you want to be. But, when I'm running something live, I'll say, how active and engaged do you plan to be? How much risk are you willing to take? How much do you care about the experience of the other people here in the space with you? And I do that because I know, as a coach and a facilitator, so often I show up and people are there because it said be here in their calendar or their diary or whatever. And they haven't really got their head in the game. And this may be a takeaway for you already, which is like, when you bring people together to work with them, to coach them, ask them to name their intention, name how they're showing up, name how they want to be, because you bring a focus and an intention to the experience. And I love that I've asked that of you as well, and how many of you are showing up going, I'm here and I'm here to get focused. I love that. Now look, I've only got 20 minutes. So I'm really wary about not trying to give you too much in the 20 minutes, because I just know how much good stuff is coming your way today. And in fact, my philosophy as a coach and as a teacher is, what's the least I can teach that would be most useful for you? What's the least I could teach that would be most useful for you? And I think I've got one big idea to share with you over this next 20 minutes or so. But before I go into sharing this big idea, and I think it could be really helpful for many of you in your roles as coaches and support, I've got a question for you. And again, I'd love to see your answer in the chat box, which is, so why do we coach? It's a simple, powerful, big, difficult question. Why do we coach? How do you measure success as a coach? I'm going to share my answer in just a second, but I'm really curious to know for you, why do you coach? How do you measure success? How do you measure progress? You've got Jason going to help others, Leon to build a better community, to positively impact young minds. I love that. Lynn's going, it's fun. Absolutely, Lynn, you're on that there. To motivate others, fun, to maximize participation. I love that. To help others be a success. So many good things coming through here. So much good that I've lost my chat screen here. Giving back, fun and being with my son. I love that. Passion for sports, the smiles. I'm loving all of that. So there's a lot of this kind of self-fulfillment. And that's such a key part of what this is about. And what we're doing here is we're using the wisdom in the room. We've got 300 smart people in the room here with us. So I love that you're connecting to the community, seeing this is why we're here. This is why we're gathered. This is what brings us together, the motivation. But I'll tell you why I coach. For sure, it's for some self-fulfillment around that, but I've got a specific outcome that I am striving for. And it is this. It is to be a catalyst of behavior change. I coach because I want people doing things differently because of my intervention. For those of you in the United States, this is how we spell behavior up in Canada or in England and Australia and the like with a U, but a catalyst for behavior change. And so when Jackie says to help make better individuals, I think that that catalyst of behavior change is the process that moves people into being better individuals. And if you're committed to an outcome that changes the people you're working with, even just slightly, you need to understand a really core concept. And it's this. You need to understand the difference between, I'm just fighting with my bits of paper here. Here we go. Difference between easy change and hard change. You may know the triangle is the kind of the physics symbol of change. So easy change versus hard change. And I'm just going to unpack those two differences. The good news is you're really strong already at one and you're less strong at the other. I think you can probably guess which is which. And so let me tell you the difference here, because when you understand the difference between easy change and hard change, it fundamentally shifts how you might approach a coaching intervention, depending on what you're facing. So let's talk about easy change first. Let's talk about easy change. Now, here's what easy change looks like. It's a really clear, simple, powerful process. You do this all the time in your coaching. The individual starts here. There's a process of learning a bit and then doing a bit and then learning from the doing and then doing some more and then learning from the doing. And they make progress till they get to here, wherever here is. Here is a standard that is good enough for them. It's acceptable. It's like masterful enough. And we do this all the time. People say change is hard, but honestly, change isn't always hard. We adapt all the time. You get a new phone and you figure it out. You have a pandemic and you figure out how to work from home. You need to set up a video conference. You decide to cook a new recipe and you go, okay, I can figure that out, and you cook a new meal. So here's what I would like you to do, just to kind of ground this in your lived reality. What's an example of something that's easy change that you've taken on recently and kind of mastered? Something where you're like, oh, this was new and I worked at it and I was, not that good at the start. And then I got a bit better because I practiced, and then I got good enough. And now I'm feeling pretty comfortable about it. In the chat box, what's some easy change stuff coming in? So working out at home instead of the gym. Perfect. Meditation. I love that. Yeah, perfect. Neil's going, making a decent omelette. Nicely done. You'll have to share your recipe or your secrets for a good omelette. Making bread. So John Roberts has got the sourdough bug and has learned how to make bread. Coaching on Zoom for Carl. Yoga. Reading every day for Mark. This is lovely. Coaching via Zoom. Walking on crutches. I'm sorry about the injury, Marshall, but I'm glad. So meal prep constantly for Ashley. Brilliant. So you got it. Lots of good stuff that's coming through there where you're like, you know what? I figured it out. I took it on. Wasn't too hard. I may have sucked slightly at the minute. I bet, like Dave's going electrical wiring at home. Probably started off going, it took me like 3 days to wire the first room, but it took me 3 hours to wire the last room because I got the hang of it. Easy change. You got that. It's where we go most of the time when we think about our coaching as we adjust and adapt and tweak what's going on around us. Here's hard change. Let's dig into what hard change actually is. Hard change looks a bit like this. You start here. You know what your goal is. You stride confidently forth, and it gets messy and difficult right away. You just can't get traction. You can't figure it out. You go and read some more books. You go and watch some more YouTube videos. You listen to another 3 podcasts. You come back to the start. It's still impossible. And you think to yourself, look, in theory, I know how to do this, but in practice, why is this so hard? And you know hard change challenges because they show up to us all the time. If you have a New Year's resolution, I mean, we're what, 3 weeks away from New Year's resolution time. If you have a New Year's resolution and you seem to be making the same one every year, that's a hard change challenge. If you work in an organization and you have a performance review and they come back to the same thing every year, they're like, Michael, we said you needed to work on your better communication skills. And I'm like, damn it. I have been trying to work on my communication skills. I can't tell you how many books I've read on communication skills, and yet I still don't seem to being able to crack it. That's a hard change challenge. So let me make this real for you again. What I'd like to see in the chat box is, what's a hard change challenge that's real for you right now? What's a hard change challenge? So handling stress, just Roger going processing the 9 months of a pandemic. So Michael's like decluttering his life. Yeah, so dietary changes, managing depression for athletes, for sure. That's a big thing. Trust. Some of these are higher level stuff that I'm seeing coming through, which is great. Also, it's really, sometimes this stuff can get really real when you define a specific project, that kind of thing you're working on to build or unbuild or whatever it might be. Purging for things, building a business during this pandemic for sure. Yeah, for sure. Here's what's really interesting. If you go back and look at the chat, if you didn't know better, you wouldn't see any significant difference between what some people are putting as easy change and some people are putting as hard change. There's nothing inherent in the task that makes it easy change or hard change. It's just what it's like for us. Because let's pick something. So Martin's going from mindful to mindful. Martin, that's beautifully phrased. So Martin's like, trying to be mindful is a hard change challenge for me. What we saw, and some people say in the easy change chat, was meditation. Yeah, I decided to take it on and I'm doing it and I'm being more mindful as a result of that. So some things feel easy change, some things feel hard change. And I'm going to give you a couple of metaphors to help think about what might feel like one and what might feel like the others. And this might land for you. If the metaphors don't land for you, that's okay as well. They don't land for everybody. I think easy change is like downloading an app onto your phone. It's additive. You're thinking to yourself, I need a little bit more. And you figure out the right app and you download it. And now you've got just a little more capacity on what's already there. I think hard change is when you need a new operating system. A new app doesn't do it. You've already downloaded the 17 apps on how to be mindful or how to bake bread or how to have a fitness regime. What you need is an upgrade on your operating system. So easy change, downloading an app. Hard change, new operating system. Here's another metaphor, an alternative. This will land better with some of you. I think easy change is about present you. It's about taking on and tinkering with present you. I think hard change is when you start thinking about what future you is like. When you're like, it's not just about tinkering with who I am today, it's about trying to level up. It's about trying to step forward into the next best version of myself. And I appreciate this is a slightly artificial distinction, but I think there's something powerful. I think you get it immediately. You can probably see it in yourself. You can probably see it in the people that you're coaching, where they're like, sometimes you're fine tuning, you're tinkering, you're just adding a little bit here or adding a little bit there. Other times you're asking people to take the bolder step, to go, look, I see something bigger and better for you. I can see who you might be if you're able to take on this future you challenge. And that's often the hard change experience. And I'll say this, and we're going to get into the hard change just a little bit because, my time is all but done. One of the things that the mistakes we make time after time as a coach is to keep trying to apply easy change solutions when it's a hard change challenge. Because if you look at all the stuff that's coming through as hard change challenges, somebody's going, okay, it's like mindfulness. So the person who said, look, I'd like to be more mindful, it is no good for me to offer up yet another book on how to be mindful, or to go, hey, have you downloaded those apps on how to be mindful? He has already done that. He already knows in theory how to be mindful. It's trying to crack the practice. So how do you crack the practice? If more knowledge is not the answer, and more knowledge is never the answer for hard change challenge, you've actually got to come at it a little bit sideways. And I think what's really powerful is to understand this concept. This is at the heart of cracking hard change. Here's the confusing slide. What this means is you've got to start understanding prizes and punishments. Prizes and punishments. Every choice you make has prizes and punishments, benefits and costs. And until you start uncovering the prizes and punishments of every choice, it's actually hard to make a move from the choice that you're making. So it's part of this kind of meta learning, or meta kind of overview, emotional intelligence almost, to start understanding what might be there. So let's make this real for you. When you think about the hard change challenge that you've named for yourself in the chat box, and by the way, I'm so appreciative of everybody sharing this, because we're 14 minutes into a conference. You don't know anybody. It's early in the morning, and we're suddenly into this kind of deep transformational change conversation. Some of you are going, how the hell did we get here? But when you think about the hard change challenge, I'm curious to know, and this will be a surprising question, what are the prizes you get for not changing your behavior? What are the benefits? What do you get out of that? It's an unusual question. You don't think about this very often, but I'm going to give you a kind of clue as to what this is about. The key prize you get about staying the way you stay, being where you are right now, is you don't make ripples. You don't disrupt. You don't disrupt how you see yourself. You don't disrupt how others see you. You don't disrupt relationships. You don't disrupt expectations. You protect comfort and status and security. And there's lots of good reasons for doing that. That's one of the reasons why sometimes hard change is not the thing that you want to be taking on. But having thought about the prizes, yeah, comfort, freedom, staying in the comfort zone, brilliant. Staying within your limits, exactly. So it's helpful to see the prizes, because then you get to contrast those to the punishments, prizes and punishments. So here's the question that I'd ask you, and I'd love you to think about 3 levels here. When you think about how you're currently behaving and your inability to crack this hard change challenge, what are the punishments? What's the price you pay, we pay, and they pay? And here's what I mean by that. You is you, obviously. We is the people in your kind of immediate circle, the people you actually have relationships with. And they, I think, means kind of the bigger world. And I'd love you to think about what's the price you pay, we pay, and they pay. This is the few, this is the many, for you staying where you are, for not figuring out this hard change challenge. It's powerful stuff. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I appreciate what's being shared coming through here, because what you're seeing is what all of us are wrestling with here and now. You know, the close to 400 people that are on the webinar right now. It's also what the people wrestle with that you coach. And you're already brilliant at helping them with the easy change. I want you to get brilliant with them, helping them with the hard change as well, because that's how we create better people in this world. And I think for many of us, you know, we coach because of what we get out of it, but we coach because we are creating better people in this world. And what's powerful about this is to understand that the first part of the equation of cracking hard change is the punishments have to outweigh the prizes. It's only when you start seeing the choices and you're like, I don't know, do the punishments outweigh the prizes? Because until that happens, you're not motivated enough to shift. And the first step here is to start thinking about how you might be motivated to shift. Now, I know Andre's just appeared, so I'm getting the wrap up here. So I've got a question for you. And I'd love to see this in the chat box. This is a way I end up all my coaching conversations, how I end up all of my webinars. And the question is this, you know, in the 20 minutes we had together, what has been most useful or most valuable for you? It's the, you know, Andre mentioned the Coaching Habit book. In the Coaching Habit book, there are just 7 questions. I say, look, 7 good questions can take you a long way. What was most useful or most valuable is the final question. It's the learning question. Because if you're wanting people to be smarter because of the way you coach them, you have to ask them what was useful, what was valuable, so they can figure out what really struck a chord. So lots of good stuff coming through, prizes and punishments, a hard change, lots of nice words coming through here. Andrew saying, I'm still at 7. Great start to the session. The quick hits. So lots of nice stuff coming through. What's brilliant about that is you're articulating the learning for you. So you're going to remember this better. You're going to take this away, but you're also helping us all collectively to understand the power of what's happened. So there's a collective learning that's happening as well. As Andre said, you can find the Year of Living Brilliantly at mbs.works. That's my website, mbs.works. And I'm on a few socials at mbs_works as well. Andre, over to you.
Michael, thanks. Thank you very much. I told you guys that would be a great start, and I'm sure you agree with me. And I like the fact that you mentioned the self-reflection. I think us coaches, we focus a lot on the professional, getting drills, knowing our game, and building good relationship in the interpersonal aspect of it. But when we talk about transformational coaching, the importance of self-reflecting about how we do things, how we project ourselves in the future is so important. Michael, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Such a pleasure to work with you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.